Today on the Relationship Renovation podcast, we answer another listener's email. And this couple who's been together for a while feel very emotionally disconnected. He's not even really mentally involved in spending time with me unless it benefits him. I find myself not interested in having sex. One partner just feels like they keep asking for their needs to get met and it's just not happening. He says he will do better and nothing seems to change. We talk also a little bit about being that partner who's a little emotionally checked out. So stay tuned. I know you're going to get a heck of a lot out of this episode.
Hello, all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation Podcast. I'm Tara Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin. And we are back once again with a listener email.
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited. And it's kind of a lengthy email. So I want to jump right in and go ahead and do this. All right.
Yeah. And just thank you for all of your emails. And we're trying to get an assistant to help us with everything coming in, but we read them and thank you for just the thank yous. Some of the emails aren't even about asking for anything specific. They're just saying thank you for all of the support and guidance. We're really resonating with this. So our hearts are truly grateful and appreciative, and we will keep responding to you, and we're sorry if we get a little delayed.
And we want to make sure that you also know that, this is not therapy. When somebody writes us in an email and we answer it, this is not therapy. We are not your therapists, but we're hoping to give a little bit of advice. We're hoping to help you maybe perhaps have some insight for the person who writes the email, but then also we want individuals that relate to it just to come out of this and maybe understand themselves a little better, and maybe be able to relate to what these people are going through and learn from hearing this.
That is, again, it's building the skills necessary to have a healthy, connected relationship that works for you. All right, let's get into this email.
All right, so let's jump right in. All right. So, hello, Tara and EJ. I just wanted to let you guys know that I've really enjoyed listening to your podcast, and I've been wanting to reach out to share my story with you guys to see if I sound crazy. I definitely don't sound crazy. Like this is what it is being in a relationship. I'm at a breaking point with my relationship that's been going on for 8 years. So, to break this story down for you, I met my husband back in 2016. And to be honest, he was definitely trying to be the cool guy when we first met and playing a little hard to get. I found it cute and funny because so was I. We were both in great shape, and that was one of the qualities I adored about him because he was into fitness just a lot like myself. He was a romantic man and would always plan these cute little dates. So we've heard that right before at the beginning. Isn't it fun?
We are so not who we really are.
And then here's the other part. We've heard this a lot.
We're our best self, I should say.
A year into our relationship, we got pregnant and had a baby. And now our daughter's turning 6. And we've been living with his parents off and on throughout the years. Now, his parents and I do not get along because they were judgmental and they don't seem to respect me. My husband now doesn't speak up to them because we are living in their home and he doesn't want to cause an argument or them blowing it up. These past years have been incredibly challenging for myself because of our finances. Our daughter was diagnosed at 3 years old with autism. Now, that being said, our government gives funding for therapies and other types of support services, but we're on a waiting list that's over 8 years. Wow, that's tough. I just felt so unheard with my relationship that I'm constantly expressing my thoughts and emotions to my husband about how I need more support and I need more affection. He says he will do better and nothing seems to change. I'm constantly thinking about him and what he wants and what he would love. I know that I'm rambling, but I'm trying to put my thoughts into words. Our number one conversation is always about me not being treated the way I should be treated. It's affecting the way I treat him every day. My temper is short, and the moment he does something that he knows is going to upset me, it just ruins my entire day. I'm constantly working on myself in therapy and trying to figure out if I can even get back to when I first met him. On special occasions, I don't even get a card. I have to tell him, or he'll say I didn't know you wanted something, or we don't have the money to get stuff. I don't know what to say anymore. It's breaking my heart. So in 8 years, I've never received a gift. And it's not only about gifts, but he's not even really mentally involved in spending time with me unless it benefits him, i.e. sex. I find myself not interested in having sex because there's such a disconnect, and he doesn't just seem to understand. I come from a broken family. I think my biggest fear is for our daughter to live in separate homes. He made me happy once before. I've told him repeatedly I don't think this is meant for me anymore, as I've given him so many chances to show me that he cares. When he tries to give me a hug throughout the day out of random, I can feel myself pulling away. It feels so awkward or forced. I really hope you can shed some light on this for me.
Wow. I had a lot of goosebumps throughout listening to that email because there's a lot of grief in there. Grief around things not working out the way they thought they would. Grief around, the support around their child and the diagnosis there and the support they need there. The grief around not getting needs met. Around having these hopes and expectations, grief around that it used to be good, that there used to be these skills and love in the relationship and romance that's not there anymore. And then a lot of, I'm also hearing powerlessness, like I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I want to sort of start. It seems we're going to start with the woman who wrote the email.
Right.
I definitely want to spend some time though with the husband when we get to that. But I agree with you that there seems to be this like compounding, not getting what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off in talking about the relationship, but like you said, to have a daughter who has some needs that, she needs some support. She needs probably some occupational therapy and other things that are proven to be really effective with a child that's on the autism spectrum, and not getting those needs met for her daughter must be just be really triggering. And
well, it compounds. I'm sure it exacerbates what's already happening in the relationship.
Yeah. And living in a house that's not her parents, so that need for autonomy and that need for your own space and that need to just feel like empowered, that there's so much that this person is dealing with, and just not getting some basic needs met.
Well, and not to mention the financial burden too.
Yeah.
Right? When you're trying to just have shelter, clothing, and food, and you don't have those resources, it feels really bad.
Yeah, there's there's the Maslow's triangle of needs, right? And it's that the
Maslow,
in order to have the most base level, we need just like, food, shelter, without those basic things, it's hard to take care of the things above that. It's hard to get into the emotions and the spiritual development and connecting deeply with your partner. Right. That if you guys are like continuing to struggle on the most basic level, it's hard to get to that. And both of you have to be facing that on some level, that like, he must be struggling also on some level with like his ability to provide.
Maybe here's the thing, because there's a lot of different issues within this email, from boundaries to communication to outside support and resources. But I think and motivation to change, right? Because it feels like the listener that sent this email is doing her own therapy. She's really motivated to have things be different, which is great, right? Change agent in the relationship. But it's also hard to say where her husband is at. Like, how motivated is he? Yes, he'll say he changes, but is he still like in contemplation mode, or where is he at? So it's hard to really assess from an email. But I would say for me, just hearing that, the number one thing for me is like setting boundaries in a home where they're living with his parents is going to be somewhat helpful to make the partners feel like we're going to be together in this, even though this is a situation that is not the most beneficial for us right now. Like, how can we do this in a way that's not going to harm the parents, right? That's going to be kind and gentle, but at least, setting those boundaries. Because I know in our relationship, even though we didn't have to live with your parents, but we were dependent on your parents for a lot of things. They were helping us financially. They were helping us with our children. And there were certain things that like you felt like you were in the middle, like boundaries that we couldn't really, have because we were dependent on them. So there's a shared similarity there.
Yeah.
And I just know when you were able to support me and start to develop boundaries around specific things, like it really helped our relationship. And it's important to know that even though you're living with that family, this idea of thirds, right? Like if your parents are now coming in between the two of you, that's automatically going to create some disconnection and some resentment and some confusion. And so really helping this woman's partner understand, like you can set boundaries in a really healthy way that are going to make your partner feel really safe.
Yeah.
Right. And then that resentment's not going to continue to grow, or that feeling of being judged.
I mean, it appears, and again, we're just in all of these emails, they're generally not written by both members of the couple. Mm-hmm. So we have to recognize we're hearing one perspective, but based upon that one perspective that we're hearing, it seems like the husband sort of has a big wake up call. That his partner is not happy, and is really struggling to be connected with him. And the first thing, like when I read this, like the second, third time I read this email, what settled into me is that so many men are just completely disconnected from their emotions. Mm. So many men just didn't get any sort of, upbringing, didn't get any reinforcement for recognizing what they're feeling and then having the ability to express it. And myself included. And I've been digging myself out of that hole for a while. And where it brought me eventually to the point of was like, if I'm not acknowledging all the things I'm struggling with, as far as just making it through in this world, if I'm denying those emotions and just trying to barrel forward, then my joy, my happiness, my ability to be sort of a fun and pleasant person to be around gets completely diminished. And that affected us for years. And I think probably with this guy that's a lot of what's happening is that he's struggling to take care of his family, and that's got to be hard. We don't know what the reasons are for that, but he's struggling to do that. He's got to probably have a ton of really complex feelings around that. He's probably not telling his partner. He's probably not opening up in a vulnerable way. So if he can't open up in a vulnerable way about probably the most important thing that he's dealing with right now, of course he's not going to be able to be affectionate. Of course he's not going to be able to, to think really beyond his own suffering and his own struggles.
Well, and that right after a year they had a baby, they didn't get to have this length of time together where they're building their experiences of negative and positive and uncomfortable and comfortable. They had this honeymoon period, and then reality hits. That's exactly what happened to us. But we're both therapists, so we had some other tools in our belt, if you will. And so again, that's the grief piece. This huge transition happened. We were fun. We were working out. We were together. We were romantic. We were planning dates. Then a child comes into it, and the transition was hard on both people, not to mention neurodivergence.
Yeah.
And right. And then the system hasn't gotten to its new groove. Because here's another thing I heard in the email. I wish I could go back to how it was. That's not ever going to happen. It's adjusting and transitioning to your new normal, but in a way that feels really good and connecting and accepting, instead of powerlessness instead of resistance and instead of resentment.
I mean, and to me, there's like two big things that this couple has to do, but it takes both people recognizing that, hey, we gotta course correct. Like wherever we are right now, emotionally, financially, just
Physically.
living situation, like wherever we are right now, this is not optimal and not even close. And so we have to make it a point that we are together working towards that, right? And so what that does is that emotionally connects you, like, hey, we both recognize this. And a big thing also that the person that the husband in this is in is he's got to be in a lot of denial.
Mm.
He's not looking at it. And that's a hard place to make change, right? So there has to be sort of like a waking up moment for this couple together of like, we're not satisfied with what is going on right now. And now let's make a plan, because there's a practical side of this as well of like, okay, we've been in triage. We were together, then we got pregnant. Then we just sort of survived. We moved back in with the folks. Okay, this fits into our whole thing of acceptance versus resignation. We can't resign that this is going to be the way it's going to be forever. It's the way it is today and maybe tomorrow. But what do we want to be different? Let's write these things down and be on the same page about what we want to be different.
It's like when you were going to couples counseling for the first time, one of our very first few sessions, we are developing the goals, the shared vision, because I'm sure this couple has a shared vision. They just aren't talking about it in a way that feels safe for them.
Well, they don't know. They don't. How can they together move towards a new life if they each have separate ideas maybe of what it may be?
Yeah.
Different places of like acceptance of what currently is. Because like one thing is like saying like, okay, like we want to get out of this house. We want to have our own place.
Yeah.
What is the first step? Like maybe eventually we want to own our own home and have a yard and blah, blah, blah. But maybe right now it's an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we have to do in the next year to get that? Because I'll tell you, like, even if that's a year out, if they start doing things that make it feel like they're getting close to achieving a goal together, they'll start feeling more connected to one another.
Yeah, it's going to build positive resourcing, experiencing confidence that they are a team, that they are a partnership, that they can do this together, even though it might take a minute.
Yeah, and maybe it'll also lead to this guy opening up in a vulnerable way, maybe about his own frustration with the fact that they're not there already. Because I bet you anything, this guy currently feels like doesn't feel great about himself.
Yeah.
And even though that's not our model as men to say like, oh, I feel like I've let you down and I feel so like bad about myself. Like, even though that seems like it's a sign of weakness, our flip is like, no, actually, that's a sign of strength.
Well, and then again, I don't want this whole podcast to be overwhelming, but to bring in that he's living with his family of origin and attachment stuff there. And we're already just trying to figure out our own attachment wounds when we're with our partner that trigger stuff. To do that in a home where it's similar and familiar it just brings another layer of difficulty.
It's hard for him to evolve into the grown man he wants to be if he's around his parents who he can't help but act in certain ways and fall into patterns of that existed when he was a kid,
So, okay. Because again, there's a lot here, but like the very first step, EJ, like if this listener is listening, right? What is the very first thing you would say to this person?
That you really think of what is the setting and timing for me to have a very direct conversation with my partner.
In a kind way.
Yeah.
In a way that feels hearable.
Yeah. Where is it? Is it like that we need to go for a walk by ourselves where we know we don't have anything for 2 hours, where he feels comfortable, whatever, like, like find the setting and the timing.
Yeah.
And then in the most like open-hearted, using pronouns like we and us,
I love that.
talking about like we could have so much more.
Here's where I would love for us to go.
Yes.
Here's how I would love to feel more connected for us, for our family. What are some of our shared goals together? I think even having like the values discussion, right? Like what's important to us? Like probably being good parents, being good humans, hardworking, being good, son, daughter. I have a feeling that this couple shares so much in common. They just don't know it because they feel like they're on opposite corners.
Yeah. The difficult thing is it sounds like she has had conversations with him in the past.
Yeah.
But my gut tells me that a lot of it, and this is no diss on her at all, there was a lot of like, I'm not happy. I don't feel connected. You need to be more affectionate. All really valid thoughts, but things that clearly are kind of freezing him up and not moving him into action.
Right.
And so it's about how can we create a conversation? Hey, can we talk about our future together in a way where it's not blaming? Because I don't want you, because I know how hard you're working, and I know you love our daughter, and I know you want to have a healthy relationship with me. So let's change the way we talk about our future together.
It's moving forward, not going back. Yes, there's going to be some areas of healing, for both people, but it's about we're moving forward. So whatever has happened, however we've hurt each other, like let's not let that be our focus. That will hijack us into a place that we've been in for a really long time that keeps us trapped. How do we move forward from this moment, from this conversation? And how do we set up some skills that are going to help us be consistent in moving forward? And I would say that couples counseling could be very helpful to have someone there to help facilitate the emotional safety so that they can come together in a way that feels good for both of them.
Yeah. And I really want to just empathetically reach out to this guy and anyone in a coupleship who is the one who sort of feels like their partner's not getting what they need, and say okay, instead of shutting that out, or instead of denying it and making it like, oh, they just want too much, or going into just like a self-shame cycle of like, I suck. And, I just want to say look, this is difficult. That what's being pointed out to you is that you have an area of growth, and you have a person who loves you and wants to be deeply connected with you and wants to support you. And so it's not like, I used to always think like I had to go off and solve it all on my own. And although there's definitely an element of like, I got to work on my stuff, but part of my growth in this area has been just opening up to you and telling you about things that I think like you maybe wouldn't even care to hear, or I think that I should just be able to figure this out on my own. That oftentimes I've come to you and just said look, I'm just I don't even know why I can't be happy anymore. I don't know why I feel so flat. I don't know why, I don't want to talk to you about money because it feels like it makes me feel like I'm failing, that I just don't have it all figured out right now. Even this week, I came to you and I was like, here's this thing we're going through around the business and money. And there's this inner part of me that feels like I should just go off into a cave, figure it out. And then once I figure it out, then I can come back out and not even tell her there was a problem in the first place.
I would really miss you.
Yes. And so this week, like it might even been before, like I was like, I'm like really stressed. There's this thing happening. Do you even want to know? And she said, yes. She's like, yes. And then I just
Absolutely.
told her about it. And then I definitely was stressed this week, but it was like, I felt less alone. And I think other weeks like this, you would have gotten frustrated with me because I would have been really isolated and you wouldn't have felt emotionally connected. And you would have felt like maybe I wasn't being present for you.
But I knew that was happening, so I didn't take it personally. And I guess this is one thing I wanted to share with the listener who emailed us, because if you've listened to enough podcasts, you will know I come from a broken home and have massive abandonment issues, meaning I need someone to consistently make me feel special, because if I don't, I will feel awful, like I'm a horrible human being, like I'm being rejected. Have I done a ton of work on this? Absolutely. But that it feels so bad when you're not getting the attention. It feels like you're broken, like there's a huge hole in your heart, and then you just get anxious, and so you try any which way to get the attention that you need. And that's what I feel like, this desperation from this listener to just see me. So just keep doing your individual work. I'm not sure if it's abandonment issues, but I know that I love that EJ pays attention to me. I love that I can come to him and say, hey, this is what I'm needing. I might need a little more of this today. And he can hear it now. But there were times where he couldn't hear it because it was coming out in a way that was more anxious, from my anxious attachment and my abandonment issues, came out more as blame. And then he would take it as like, God, I'm just not good enough. Like, she hates me. Why is she even with me? So just keep working on fulfilling yourself and whatever that broken home, that wounded child, because you'll be okay regardless of what happens within this relationship. And of course, we are hope holders for all. But regardless of what happens, you're strong, you will be okay. You continue to do your own work. And that is the number one thing, that no matter what happens in this world, I will be okay. I will be a good mom. I will be the best person that I can be, no matter what, that I do not have control over this other person. I have control of how I ask for my needs. I have control over my own emotions. I have control how to regulate myself, but I cannot control externally what's outside of me. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, our heart goes out to this listener, goes out to her partner, their family. Just know things can change. That's important. And then hopefully both people can get invested in some sort of process that helps give them structure to their change. And that can be as easy as
the 6 words I was thinking for this couple.
We have that 6 words episode that just came out a month or so ago, which could really help get you guys aligned and back on the same page. It could be buying the book Attached. And book. Just learning about each other's attachment stuff, that could be huge. It could be buying the book of ifs. It's a book that Tara and I would get and just give us a little bit of intimate time and intimate emotional time of asking each other questions after the kids are in bed. Just doing something that cultivates connection and trying to have this conversation around getting united about your vision so that you guys can make a plan, be emotionally connected, and make your life the way you want it to look.
And if this story feels similar, and if there are things out there that you have done that has helped get connected when you're almost in a place of giving up, reach out, let us know. We're a community. We're here to learn from each other, get strength from each other, get hope from each other. So share your story, please.
Absolutely. So please give us a like, give us a subscribe, share our podcast with somebody else. If you're on the audio side listening, come on over and check us out on our YouTube channel. It's we have a great team who's helping us make a really visually engaging podcast.
Oh yeah, you can see my ugly cry. It's awesome.
And keep sending us your emails. We love answering authoring these. We've definitely got feedback from other people like, oh, when you read that email from that other listener, like I got so much out of it. So, it helps the community grow and heal.
And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye-bye.